Buckle up, everyone, because today's deep dive is taking us right into the heart of the Italian Renaissance.
And into the middle of a battle.
You got it. We're talking Paolo Uccello's The Battle of San Romano, except not so fast. It's not just one painting, right?
You're on the right track. It's a triptych, 3 panels, showing this clash between Florence and Siena back in 1432. But what really makes this one special, Uccello, the guy who painted it, was absolutely obsessed with perspective.
Like to the point where it's kind of messing with the realism? I've heard that.
It's a point of debate, for sure. But we've got the sources to sort it out. Academic papers, descriptions from the museums where these panels are hanging, even an encyclopedia entry.
Sounds like we're covered.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. Who was this Paolo Uccello?
Well, his real name was Paolo di Dono, born in Florence, 1397. Got the nickname Uccello, meaning bird, because he just loved animals, apparently.
A bird lover painting a battle scene. That's kind of an interesting combo.
Right. But to really understand his work, we got to rewind a bit further. See, his early training wasn't actually in painting. He apprenticed with Lorenzo Ghiberti, the sculptor.
Ah, Ghiberti. Didn't he do those famous bronze doors on the baptistry in Florence?
The very same. And you can totally see that influence on Uccello. Those figures in the battle, they're not just flat shapes. They've got this solidity, almost like they're sculptures themselves.
I can picture that. Like they could step right off the canvas and onto the battlefield. Okay, but before we get too deep into the art stuff, let's set the stage. This Battle of San Romano, why should we care about it? Centuries later.
Well, picture Italy back then, not a unified country like today. It's all these city-states constantly fighting for power.
Kind of a Game of Thrones situation.
Exactly. And Florence and Siena, they were the big players in Tuscany. This battle, June 1st, 1432, it was a turning point.
So high stakes, right? Not just a random skirmish.
Oh, no. Florence needed this win. They just lost another battle. Morale was down. This victory was crucial, both for their image and their actual control of the region.
And they had this Niccolo da Tolentino leading them, their condottiero, basically like a hired general.
Yeah, but not just any general. Tolentino was famous for his smarts, his cunning tactics, and that's something Uccello actually portrays in the paintings, which is pretty cool.
Okay, now I'm seeing it. These paintings aren't just battle scenes, they're like Florentine propaganda.
There's definitely an element of that. It's about projecting an image of power, celebrating victory, maybe even sending a message to their rivals. It wasn't just about commemorating a battle, it was about using art to shape the narrative.
Smart move. So who commissioned these propaganda pieces, these masterpieces?
Well, while the Medici family ended up with them later, it was probably the Bartolini-Salimbeni family who originally ordered them up. Rich folks, big supporters of Florence, probably wanted them for their palace.
Showing off their loyalty and their good taste, right?
Exactly. It was a statement. We're on the winning side, and we appreciate fine art. But imagine these massive panels high up on 3 walls of a room. That's got to make an impact.
Must have been pretty amazing. Shame they're separated now. London, Florence, Paris. Talk about an art history scavenger hunt.
It is a shame, but let's focus on what we can see, even if it's not the original setup. Panel 1, the one in London, it's called Niccolo da Tolentino at the Battle of San Romano. You can't miss Tolentino. He's right there in the center, white horse, big all hat.
Like, here I am, world leading the charge. I love it. But even amidst all the chaos, that perspective you mentioned, it's already jumping out.
Oh, yeah. Uccello's all over that. See those broken lances on the ground? They're not random. They point towards Tolentino, like he's the vanishing point, drawing your eye.
Clever. And then there's that fallen soldier way in the foreground. Isn't that foreshortening, that technique to make things look like they're receding?
Nailed it. Super innovative for the time. And he's playing with space in other ways, too. Look at that flowering hedge. It's like he's deliberately cutting off the middle ground, making it more stylized, less realistic.
Bold move. So it's not just about accuracy. It's about Uccello's own vision, his own way of seeing things. But wait, what's with the hunting scene in the background? Feels a bit random amidst a battle.
That's where things get interesting. Some folks think it's a hint at how the wealthy lived back then. Even with war going on, they still had their leisurely pursuits.
A little reminder that life goes on even amidst chaos. Interesting. Makes you wonder what other hidden messages are tucked away in these paintings.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so much fun. We're just getting started, and there are layers upon layers to uncover.
I'm ready for more. So we've got Uccello, our perspective-obsessed artist, right smack in the middle of a pivotal moment in Italian history. Makes you think, how much can we actually trust these paintings as historical records?
It's a good question. It's like, yeah, we have written accounts of the battle and all, but Uccello's giving us this visual version, and it's not always straightforward, is it?
Not with all those perspective tricks and stylized figures.
Yeah.
It's like trying to read a history book where someone's doodling in the margins.
I like that analogy. So maybe we should ground ourselves a bit, go back to those historical sources, remind ourselves what really went down at San Romano June 1st, 1432.
Okay, back to basics. So we're in Tuscany, right? Part of this bigger conflict between Florence and Siena.
Exactly. Each city wants to be top dog in the region. And for Florence, this particular battle, it was more than just a win. They'd come off a loss, so this was a chance to reassert themselves.
Right, those paintings weren't just about remembering, they were about showing off Florence's power.
100%. Think about it. Commissioned by a wealthy Florentine family, meant to be displayed in their palace. It's a power move, pure and simple.
Politics and art, all mixed up.
Yeah.
But Uccello, he wasn't just a pawn in all this, was he? He was trying to do something new with painting.
You're getting at it. This was the Renaissance, a time of huge artistic experimentation. Perspective, using math to create realistic depth on a flat surface. It was all the rage.
But for Uccello, it seems like it went beyond just a technique, almost like an obsession.
Right. It might have been, almost like he was saying, even in the chaos of a battle, there's this underlying order, this geometry holding it all together.
Whoa. Deep stuff. So he's not just painting what he sees, he's exploring how we see, how we make sense of the world.
Exactly. And that's what makes these panels more than just historical snapshots. They become about representation itself, about how an artist can play with our perception, make us question what's real.
Mind-bending stuff. So how do we even approach these paintings then, if we're not sure how much is fact and how much is Uccello's artistic vision?
Maybe the answer isn't about picking one or the other. Maybe it's about embracing the fact that art can be both. A reflection of reality and a departure from it.
Like one of those optical illusions, right?
Yeah.
You see one thing, then blink, and it's something else.
Perfect analogy. Uccello's giving us history, but he's also giving us his own unique take on it. And that's what keeps us coming back, keeps us looking closer.
I'm starting to see these battles in a whole new way. It's not just about who won. It's about how Uccello used this event to explore his own ideas about art, about seeing.
And that's the magic of art, isn't it? It transcends time and place. It lets us connect with someone else's vision, even centuries later.
Okay, we've covered a lot. Uccello's life, the battle itself, the nitty-gritty of each panel. But something's still missing, isn't it?
The missing piece is you. What jumps out at you when you look at these paintings? Do you see history? Art? Something else entirely. That's the real deep dive.
You're right, we can analyze all day, but it's up to each person to make their own meaning. No right or wrong answers, just different ways of seeing.
And that's what makes this kind of exploration so exciting. We provide the context, the background, but the final piece of the puzzle, it's all yours.
So let's try to put ourselves back in time. Imagine stepping into that Renaissance palace, those massive paintings towering overhead. All right, I'm picturing it. Dimly lit room, maybe some tapestries, and then bam, these huge paintings hit you.
It must have been something else. And remember, these weren't meant to be seen at eye level like in a museum. They were high up. In Uccello's perspective, he designed it for that specific view.
So what we see in photos, it's not the whole picture, literally.
Not even close. Imagine those angles, that foreshortening, that super compressed foreground. It all snaps into place when you're standing below it.
Like one of those sidewalk chalk drawings, right? Got to be in the right spot for the illusion to work.
Exactly. Uccello was a master of messing with our perception. Makes you wonder what those Renaissance folks thought when they saw it. Overwhelmed, intrigued, maybe even a little dizzy.
It's like they got the first VR experience, centuries before the tech existed, surrounded by these battle scenes, all thanks to Uccello's genius.
And it wasn't just the size and perspective. Think about the materials. Egg tempera on wood. That technique, it creates this incredible detail, this luminous quality, almost like the colors glow.
So it wasn't just what they saw, it was the whole experience, the sheer physical presence of these panels.
Right. And let's not forget the gold leaf. That would have added this extra layer of richness, of opulence. Even with some fading over time, you can bet those colors were vibrant.
This is blowing my mind. We're talking visual impact, this spatial play, and then the materials themselves adding to the whole effect. No wonder these were seen as such a power move.
Absolutely. It all comes together. Florentine might, artistic innovation, and a family showing off their good taste and their loyalty to the city. It's all right there in these three panels.
Art and politics, totally inseparable back then.
That's the Renaissance for you. It's not just pretty pictures. It's about using art to reinforce power, to shape how people understand the world.
So even with his obsession with perspective, Uccello wasn't just off in his own little world. He was playing the game too.
Oh, he knew what he was doing. He understood the message these paintings were sending. He was pushing artistic boundaries, but within the system, within the expectations of his patrons.
Walking that tightrope between doing something new and meeting the demands of the people paying for it.
And he did it brilliantly. He wasn't just copying the old masters, he was pushing forward, adding his own flair, his own love of perspective, of geometry.
That's what makes his whole deep dive so fascinating. We started with a battle, and we ended up exploring perspective, politics, the whole artistic landscape of the Renaissance. Amazing stuff.
And for you listening, I'll leave you with this. Imagine yourself in that room with those panels towering above you. How does it change how you see the battle? How you understand Uccello's genius? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep looking at the world with fresh eyes. That's what these deep dives are all about.